Hey guys, today we're going to make a procedural asteroid, something similar to this. In fact, here is an example of it. But the nice thing about a procedural asteroid is that you get to modify it any way you like. All right, let's create a new Blender file. Don't save, boom. At the end of this tutorial, this will be the exact meteor we create at the very end. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Alright, the first thing you want to do to your scene is click on the top over here, click on matte cap, click on this, and we're going to use this red matte cap over here. Once we've done that, we can minimize that, and we're going to add a modifier. The modifier we're going to use is a subdivision surface. On the levels of viewport, put 4, enter, and then on this downward arrow, press apply. Press numpad 1 for front orthographic view. Zoom in, and we can right click and shade this smooth. It's not perfectly round, so we can press tab if you want to make it round, shift alt S, and we can pull this until the sphere over here shows 1, and then we just click tab. Perfect. That's looking pretty good. Next thing we want to do is add another subdivision surface modifier, put on level 2, and rename the subdivision 1. Healthy tip, you will probably only be successful in this tutorial if you're new to Blender, if you pay careful attention to the naming conventions. It's very easy to make a mistake in this tutorial. The next thing we want to do is use a displacement modifier, press new, and the first thing we're going to do is let's just make this a little bit bigger so we can see the full name. We're going to underscore large underscore, and the first one we are going to use, it's called Voronoi. There we go. So we're going to just type in Voronoi. Control A, Control C to copy, and we paste it over here. Now what we've done is we've named our modifier displacement large Voronoi, and we've named the texture associated with this modifier the same name, so it's easy to identify. Highly recommend you do that. Everything else for now we'll leave as is, and we'll go to our texture properties, and then we'll change this to Voronoi. Now, here by the size, you want to hold in shift and just pull this up until we get a asteroid-like shape. I'm going to make this 0.95 should be good enough. And it looks like an asteroid-like shape, but I don't like the overall size. So what I'll do is I'll press S to scale it, X on the X-axis, and I'm going to put in 2. And then I'm going to press Control A, and you have to apply the scale. If you don't, it won't work properly. Other thing I'll do is I'll press S to scale Z on the Z axis and type in 0.75. Click Control A, apply the scale. Cool. Now we have our basic mesh that has a little bit of pinching, but we'll resolve that shortly if needs be. Cool. Next thing we can quickly do while we add it is we're going to create a new collection. This is where we're going to have all our controllers, empty controllers for our asteroid. So you can make any asteroid you like using these controllers. So we're going to press Shift A, empty, circle, GX minus 10. There we go. I'm going to put S 0.25. And Control A, apply the scale to the empty as well, or else you're going to run into problems. Right, now that we've got this, let's quickly click on this. Click on this name here, Control C to copy. Rename this empty, Voronoi underscore empty. And that's very solid naming convention. Now when you select this empty, well first let's select this. Now when you change local to object, and then select the displacement empty. Now when you move this, you can get a gazillion different shapes of an asteroid. Now choose a shape that you think is appropriate. I'm just going to move this around until I find something that I like. And you don't have to just move it to get a new shape. You can also, let's say we kind of like this, but now you can press R to rotate it on the Z, on any axis you like. I'm going to rotate on the Z axis, holding Shift. Something like that looks interesting. Cool. I'm quite happy with that. The next thing I want to do is add another modifier, displacement, press new, and we're going to call this displace underscore large underscore Musgrave. Control A, Control C, enter, and then paste it over here as well so that it's got the same name. And we'll get back to these settings shortly. But while we're here, we might as well press Shift D to duplicate this empty, X, chuck it over here, then click on this, copy this, Control C, double click on this, paste, underscore empty, and change this to object and choose the Musgrave empty. Boom. Now when you move this, it doesn't really matter because we haven't set the right procedural, the right texture. We have to change it from, click over here. Very important. Whenever you in your texture corners, the first thing you pay attention to is this top line. And make sure you're dealing with the correct modifier. And the modifier we're dealing with is Musgrave. So we weren't in the right one, now we are. Now we change this to Musgrave. Boom. And now we're going to just change the strength to 0.35. And we're going to click on colors, color ramp. And contrast, we're going to make 0.5. And we're going to pull white to about 0.7. And we'll make black 0.25. Zoom in over here. Let's go back to our modifier. And this is where we mess with the strength. We're going to make this, let's start off with 0.1 as the strength. We hold in Shift and we just move it out. I'm going to make it 0.3. And we'll note this is perfect because we probably made it a little bit too big, but that's fine. And the other cool thing now is we can choose this and you can see what it does. Move this around, all these dots. And what you want to do is you want to try and move these dots in a place where there's less pinching. If you want to control how many dots you see, you do that. Let me show you how to do that. So currently, well, we'll get to it actually. These aren't even the proper dots yet. But the strength is way too high for what we're trying to do here. Let's make this 0.11. We just want to make it look more rock-like. And just find a spot that you like. I'm actually quite happy with that. And now when we examine this closer, whenever you're dealing with displacements, you're always going to run into issues like pinching, and we're going to try and fix as many of the pinchings as we can before we move on. And the way we do that, once again, is non-destructively. We're going to add a smooth modifier. We're going to give this a factor of 1. And currently it's smoothing the entire object, which is no good because we're losing too much great detail. So we're going to press plus, plus. We're going to call group 1 our standard. And we're going to call group 2 our smooth. And I'm going to press numpad 1. We'll start off with an obvious pinch over here and change this to weight paint. And our weight is currently set to 1. And we're going to try and fix as many of these as we can. It's not always easy to do. Back to object mode, let's take a view. Okay, it looks a little bit better, but not much. Weight paint. And we're just going to do as much as we can at this point. This is a boring part of modeling where you just find all the glitches and you fix them. Funny enough, there isn't too many. Yeah, see, fold here, that doesn't look good. So we just go to weight paint. All right, let's go to object mode, take a quick look. Seems still to be a bit of a glitch here. Let's go back into weight paint. And don't worry if there's some glitches that won't go after you've tried to fix it. We'll fix it later. Bit of a glitch here that we can't fix. Bit of a fold here. If you want to remove it, you just go to weight paint. Some of these folds do look natural and you can leave it. Others do not, and you can just use your own judgment as to what you think is appropriate. We just want to try and get rid of these folds now, sooner than later, so we get a much nicer looking end result. See, now this doesn't look natural, so we're going to try and fix it as much as we can. And worst case scenario, we might need to move some of the procedural parts, which I'm hoping we don't have to do. I'm just looking for more. Let me go to object mode so we can see how it looks in matcap. I think that's about it. Oh, here's one. Very slight. Weight paint. There we go. See, now that one doesn't look too good, but overall it's not a terrible shape. It looks like rock, it looks natural. That's good. All right, let's continue. Let's click on our modifiers and make sure you choose smooth over here. Let's take a look at all these shapes again. Texture, weight paint. And let's just increase the smooth factor over here to 30. Boom. And just like that, we've fixed all of the major issues. That's looking really, really good. 30 means we just repeat that factor of 130 times. Okay, cool. Now we can move on. Let's add a new modifier called a subdivision surface modifier, because now we're leaving the large displacement and we're moving on to the next level, which is the medium displacement. Subdivision 2, enter, Catmull Clark, everything's good. And now we add a new displacement. Press new. Once again, we call this displace underscore medium underscore Stucky. Control A, Control C, paste it over here as well. And we'll mess with this in a second. We will have to. But let's go over here. Click on the top here. Stucky, Stucky, Stucky. All right. Change from plastic to wall-in. And we will have to mess with this quite a bit. Also change it from soft to hard. If you want many dots, move the black more to the left. If you want less dots, move it more to the right. So we're going to have many dots, chuck it over there, but we have to bring white right next to it to isolate them dots. Okay, I'm going to just leave it there for now. And hold in shift and mess with the scale. Let's go back to soft just to see how it looks. And let's chuck this up here. I think I'm going to go 0.35 just as a default value. And we're going to try and make it work with that. Let's make the contrast 1.5. I'm going to leave this on hard actually. And I'm going to flip colors. Okay, now I can go back here and we're going to reduce the strength to 0.11. Alright, so currently the way we have our colors set up with it like this, the white points are the only points that aren't pushed down, which is no good. So we want to just switch this other way around. Now we've got holes. That's what we want. We want a bunch of holes. Okay, but now we want to try and play with this. Perhaps if we make this factor 1 and hold in shift. So these are the primary holes. 0.15 is more than enough. Go back here. Let's make them bigger holes. 0.95. No, 0.75. Okay, this could work, but we need to, once again, numpad 1, zoom out, click on one of these, Shift D, X, click on this, copy this, rename this underscore empty, then change this from local to object, and choose the medium Stucky empty, and now we want to press G and just move this into a position that feels right. Okay, the thing I want to do is let's try 0.11. And I'm just going to move the Stucky a little bit more. I want as little things to clean up as possible. Okay, that looks fine, that looks fine. Looks like rock has been chipped away, and that's kind of the idea. Numpad 1, okay, we're fine with that, and now we can move on. Let's go back, click on our object, and that should be fine. But we're going to add another modifier. Click on displacement, press new. Name this displace underscore medium underscore, and we're going to call this one Musgrave, and that's it. Control A, Control C, enter, paste it here, and I'm just going to reduce the strength so long because I can imagine I'll have to. And I'm going to click over here and choose medium Musgrave. Change this to Musgrave. Boom. And while I'm at it, I might as well quickly just add an empty for it. Shift D, X, because it really does help with the modeling process. Copy this, Control C, click on this, double click, paste, underscore empty. Click on this and change this to object medium Musgrave. Medium Musgrave, boom. And I just want to zoom in to see what if I can see. Okay, I'm not liking what I'm seeing. Make this 1. G. I'm moving the Stucky, not the. There we go, G. And let's click on this and just click over here and choose medium Musgrave. And if we want to just look at the Musgrave, we can, medium Musgrave, we can just hide the rest by clicking this. And there we can see just our Musgrave with our subdivisions. And let's modify this. All right, so we're definitely going to use a color ramp. FBM. Intensity, let's make it 5. There we go, look at that. It's looking a lot better. Go to our modifiers, let's change this thickness to 0.5. No, 0.5. 0.5, there we go. And let's mess with the size to a more medium size. I'm thinking 0.2. Yep, that's looking good. Let's see how it looks with our whole scene. Click on that, that, and that. And now we can press G and move this around where we think it fits. And it's looking pretty good. A few things we want to fix, which we will. All right. Next thing we want to do is add a smooth. I'm going to call this smooth 2. Give it a factor of 1. Repeat 30. Currently it's smoothing the whole thing, that's why it's doing that. And that's not what we want. Go over here, create a new group. Double click to rename it. And we're going to call this smooth 2. And once we've done that, we're going to click weight paint. Currently I'm just going to click on a random dot so everything goes back to normal. And just choose smooth 2. No, we're going to just stick to smooth, pardon me. And let's just find all the glitches and just fix it quickly. So here's a huge glitch. Right, so that's easy to fix. Go to weight paint. Right, so my computer's already struggling to keep up with my clicks. Not a good sign considering we barely at the halfway mark. Oh joy. Well, at least it's working. At least I get to work on this, so that's cool. Zoom out, click on this. Let's view this from another angle. Okay, let's go back to object mode, view this. Okay, one thing I do want to do is move this Musgrave quickly, G. got to move the Stucky, it just doesn't look right. Alright, there's got to be a way that we can fix the Stucky a little bit, because the Stucky is creating most of our problems at the moment. 0.5. I'm going to make this 0.05. Let's see what happens when I mess with the medium. Zero 0.11. 1. Zero 0.7. All right. Let's delete this smooth quickly. And let's select this smooth and bring it here. And once we've done that, we can smooth this out. There we go. And I think what's missing here, which will probably fix this significantly, and I don't want to add it yet because it's going to kill the computer, is more subdivisions, frankly. But you know what, let's just see if I'm right, because I'm making this smooth, but I don't think there's enough subdivisions to smooth it out. So if I just add one more which we're planning to do anyways next, click on subdivisions, there we go. It's already looking a lot better. And we go back to weight paint. Now, once my computer registers, I'll show you one thing we can do. If you've got I'm working from a laptop, an old laptop. If you are working from a potato PC, I'll show you what you can do now in case your computer just freezes up the whole time. I'll just stop over there. Once my computer registers, it takes like almost 10 seconds per click. So what we'll do in the viewport, just for the time being, we're going to disable the subdivisions, at least this one, because it slows the computer down too much. And we're going to go back to object mode. And you can just smooth out all the edges you need to get a good result. But we'll leave it like it is right now. So this is looking pretty good. But now we need to take it to the next level, which is another displacement modifier. We're going to press new. And this time we're going to change it from large to small Stucky. Control A, Control C, paste. And now we can click over here, and click small Stucky and change this to Stucky. And we're going to make this 0.2. We're going to use color ramp. We're going to make this wall in. And what we're going to do, once this registers, pull this over here, pull this all the way over. There we go. Look at that. That's something, that's kind of what we're going for. We might just reduce the size to 0.05. Go to our modify properties, make the mid-level 1, and we're going to make the strength 0.05, and we're going to hold in shift and mess with the strength. I think 0.06 is probably the max we can go. I'm actually going to stick to 0.05 and change the mid-level to 0.7. Well, let's leave it on 0.5 actually, see what happens. Okay, well, we've got some pinching here, but it's fine. We'll make it work. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is just change this to hard. Let's leave it on soft. And I can tell it's missing subdivisions, and I'm not going to add them just yet because it's going to kill the computer. Well, if I just click on this, we can at least see it looks better when the subdivisions are there. There we go. So that's kind of how it will look. And there's a lot of stuff we could fix, but if you've got a potato PC, beggars can't be choosers, man. There we go. We click on that to remove those subdivisions. It'll take a little while to register. And now we can add the next layer. And this is quite an important layer. This is called the micro layer. Click on displace. All right, and now we're going to click new. And we're going to call this small Musgrave. Now, if we do this right, it will look sick. Musgrave. Control C. Paste. There we go. Texture coordinates, click up here, small Musgrave. Change it to Musgrave. It's going to look wonky. All right, so let's make the contrast 1.5. Let's also click on this and reset color ramp. Let's make the size 0.2. So this looks a little bit more like Musgrave. Currently it looks too much like Stucky. Let's use FBM. You know what? I think multifactorial would look good at the end here. Let's use multifactorial. At the moment, I'm just looking at this texture pattern here and I'm making decisions based on that. Let's flip the color ramp. Yeah, okay, cool. Let's see how this actually looks now. Right, so the first thing we want to do is make this 0.05. And just to make sure we're doing the right thing, I'm just going to disable everything like Voronoi large. Don't want to see that. Musgrave, don't want to see that. Stucky, don't want to see that. Medium Musgrave, don't want to see that. disable the subdivisions over here. Turn on render so it's viewed in render. Disable Stucky for the time being. There we go. So this is purely what we're dealing with. Now we can work on the shape and the design. First, let's look at the intensity. See how close I am. Well, if we increase this, I'm going to leave this on 0.5. But now we need to mess with this a little bit. Let's try FBM. And we definitely need to flip the color around. There we go. And let's hold in shift. .15. Currently this is way too high. Let's make this 0.02. Okay. And while we add it, let's quickly just add the controllers for this as well, the Stucky as well. Shift A, well, let's just select one of these, numpad 1, Shift D, click this over here. And now we click on this, display small Stucky, paste, underscore empty, and now we can change this to our object, display small Stucky empty, boom, which we can't see yet, but it's fine. Shift D to duplicate that, click on this, Musgrave, double click, paste, and now we can underscore empty object, display small Musgrave empty, and just like that we can now play around with all this as well. Let's quickly click on this and just see how it looks together. It's going to look really wonky without all the subdivisions on. I'm going to have to turn this on. I'm not going into edit mode. Let's minimize this. Turning on the subdivision. And I'm actually going to take this smooth all the way to the end. And what we could do, minimize that, is add one more subdivision at the end. And this will probably kill your computer, but it's probably the final subdivision needed just to make sure that there's enough geometry for all the detail in this asteroid. All right, so there we go. Now we can look at our asteroid and see places that we want to fix. So I would zoom out over here, minimize that, open up, change this to our weight paint. And you can kind of just paint in areas where you feel you need to try and just smooth it out and make it look good. I'm kind of limited with the computer I have right now, so I'm going to more or less just leave things as they are. Alright, so one thing we could do with smooth for the areas once we've marked them is you can just increase this or increase the factor. So if we made the factor 2, now it's twice as much, and we should see some sort of difference here once it registers. Alright, I'm just going to leave it as is, but I think you get the idea. Right, let's just go into our render view mode just to see how this looks. Numpad 1. View it from an angle. And obviously you can adjust these to any style you like. And you would want to smooth these out, but it just takes so long. Let me try one more time just to weight paint this quickly. Right, so I just disabled the subdivision so I could speed up. Also, one thing I did is I removed the extra one I did here, so I've only got standard and smooth, else it won't work properly. And now we're just going to try and smooth out all the spots that need smoothing out as quickly as possible, and we should see instant results. We should get instant feedback. All right, let's quickly go back to solid view mode. I mean object. Let's also change this to solid view mode once this loads. Okay, it's back. And just to show how we can fix this quite quickly, we see this mess here. Well, it should fix within a few clicks. One thing I do want to change here, this being on 1 and 30 should be more than enough to fix 99% of the problems. 2 and 60 is just frankly overkill. And it's set to smooth. Come on, come on, come on. All right, let's. All right, so I managed to smooth out most of it. Let me just show you in, select the object, in weight paint. And I just painted off all the areas where there's serious folds to try and get it done. The only thing I haven't looked at is which level I want the weight paint to be on in terms of, yeah. So if we chuck it here, just zoom in and just look at how much worse it gets. What happened? Well, obviously, if we chuck it to the top, it does nothing. Let's look at the first layer. See, now we've got serious glitches. Drop it one layer. Still glitches. Let's drop it after the Stucky, and that should be the main one. There, serious fixes happened. We lose a lot of detail there, but it fixes a lot, so maybe we keep it there. Let's see how it looks after the Stucky here. No, it wipes out the Stucky, so we need to lift this above that at the very least. Over here. Cool. And there you have it. We have created our meteor. Let's look at it through our render view, numpad 1. And let's create a lighting setup. Obviously, if you don't like the shape and style, you can play with it. But before we do that, I'm going to press Shift A, empty circle, RX90, S5, and then I'm going to select the light, Shift select this, so select the light, Shift select this, Control P to parent it, and I need to create a new collection. Call this collection lighting. And we're going to chuck this last empty into here. Boom. Make sure the light is also here. And let's change to cycles. In fact, let's lift this up. View this with the camera lens. Perhaps we want a different angle of our shot. Let's choose this angle, Control Alt numpad 0. And we'll select our camera. Zoom in over here. Go to our camera and just zoom in a little bit. There we go. Change to our camera settings over here. I'm going to change this one to our render view. It's going to be a small window over here so we can preview it, and this will be in solid view. Out of camera mode, cool. And now we can select our lighting, change it to sun, way too bright. We're going to give this strength of 1. And then we're going to use nodes. Emission is correct. And let's make this one warm. And you just look at your render view mode to see how it looks. And let's give it a strength of 15. And select this light, numpad 1, shift D. I don't have to move it down here, it just helps with me to visually understand how the light is working, because obviously it's the sun. Numpad 7. Chuck it over here. Rotate it. And let's rotate this one. Like that. Shift D. Chuck a light source here. Rotate it. Numpad 3. Rotate this. G. But this time we're going to make it blue. Give it a strength of 0.8. So we can see the detail, perhaps 0. Less, 0.2. There we go, so the detail isn't lost. Trying to choose a more interesting light source. Maybe have something like that. Make this slightly bigger so we can see what I'm doing. And you can kind of just play with the light. Once you've got this set up, the nice thing is you can just click on this and you can rotate this and get many interesting looks. Alright, I guess now we can finally get to our shader editor. Select this. One thing I want to do quickly is add an environmental texture. I just googled NASA Milky Way and found an 8K image online. You can do the same. Downloads. Desktop. I guess it is in downloads. Must be this one. It'll take a little while to load. Okay, I'll give it time, but in the meantime, I'm going to mess with the texture. There we go. Camera view. So that's what we've got, the Milky Way and this random rock. And currently the default color is always set to white, which is no good. We probably want to, well, what we're going to do is delete this, Shift A, shader. I'm going to start off with a mix shader. I'm going to connect this in here, and I'm going to use a diffuse shader. Boom. I'm also going to use a glossy shader. And I'm also going to use Fresnel as the factor, and we really want to spend more time making this look more, and we can press Shift A. In the search we can type in math, select it, connect it here, multiply, yikes, not this math, Control X, Shift A. We want to use mix RGB, then use math, multiply, sorry. And we're going to use a converter known as a color ramp, and we're going to connect this color into here. Let's pull this back. Let's change this to something more like this. And the great thing is you can see the real result in real time. And we're kind of working the wrong way, yeah, but you'll still get the final result. It looks pretty dope. I'm going to select this, Shift D. We want to connect this color into this roughness. Shift A, search bump BUMP. Let's really zoom in here so we can really see what's going on. Here we go. And we're going to connect the height into the normal. And currently these aren't connected to anything, so I probably want to fix that. But let me just adjust this, chuck this over here. And select pretty much all of this and press Control J. Click on, you can press N for this window to appear, and we're going to call this asteroid shader. Give it a color, and let's increase the font size to 50 so that it's more legible. We can just click on this, let's bring it down so it's visible. Cool, so we've completed the asteroid shader, but we actually haven't messed with the colors too much. Right, next thing we want to do is press Shift A, color, mix RGB. Let's zoom in, connect this here, connect this here. We can all use the same result. And connect this here. I'm really working backwards from the example I worked from before I started recording this. Okay, cool, but it's still fine. We'll still get the right result. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is type in geometry. Definitely need one of these. Shift A. Is converter, color ramp. Zoom in, yeah, bring this down, connect the pointless to the factor and the color, and then we just adjust this over here, make this 0.5, click on the white, make this 0.55. Shift A, converter, I think it's in color, RGB curve, boom. Connect this into the second input. And this will just mess with the lights. Click on this, zoom out so we can actually view it. And select all of this, press Control J. Let's give this one a name. Light define edges. This defines that. Color, green, font 50. Click, bring this down. Perhaps push this out a bit. There we go. Everything can be seen. We still need to connect this into something, and this would be the main part, which we're getting into now. All right, so we're going to click Shift A, and we're going to use color mix RGB, and we're going to connect this into color 1 over here, as well as color over here. And now we're finally getting into the juicy stuff. Let's press Shift A, type in image, texture, click that, and we're going to connect this to factor 1. We're going to press open, and I'm going to use an image I downloaded of, I guess, rock. I just googled rock, I found this in metamorphic rock, and I got the 8K image over here from NASA if you want to find that. All right, let's get back into it. Let's take this one step further. Now that I've added the image, I've got Node Wrangler enabled, just to show you what that is. Tab, add-ons, node. You need to make sure that you tick this on. Click on this, and we're going to press Control T. We're going to connect this to generate, and we're going to change flat to box. What else could we do? Yeah, I guess we can just add an RGB curve. Make the blend 0.3. Copy this, Shift D. Connect this into image 2. Shift D, and connect this into the factor. And what we want to do, because we're using the same image, we just want to change the coordinates and variance. So we're just going to mix it up a little bit. You can also mess with the scale if you like, just to create an interesting shape that doesn't look the same. And let's reset this. Got a red, bring this down or up. This top one here, we can just select this, press Control X, Shift A, converter, color ramp, and we can just do something like this to bring it closer for it to pop, for the blend to look really good. There we go. All right, and we want to vary this out a bit. Well, the blend there is useful, but let's mix it up so it's not all the same. Just so that we get a unique result. You can kind of just play with it. If we went on this, it should make it more red, if you're going for that, but I'm not, so I'm just going to leave it like that. And now I want to select all of this and press Control J, and we're going to name this the actual texture. So we've created the texture, yeah, asteroid texture. Let's give it an interesting color, 50. And let's try and make the text visible. So we start off with the asteroid texture. Then we also sharpen the lights over here, which we can play with now even more. And if you want to see what anything does, you can just press Control-Shift-Click because we've got Node Wrangler installed. So we can really play with this. Go. Control-Shift-Click, Control-Shift-Click, Control-Shift-Click. There we go. And we're kind of just messing with all this Control-Shift-Click. Bring it in more. This detail really pops. Control-Shift-Click. Control-Shift-Click, Control-Shift-Click. I guess that would be our final result, Control-Shift-Click. Let's just take a look at this, bring this more in. Okay, here we go. Control-Shift-Click. I think this would be our end result. Hope you enjoyed this. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Oh, one last thing I want to show. Obviously, you can adjust the lighting in any position that you like, and you can get a beautiful result like that. The other thing is you've still got all these empty controllers, and you can make, honestly, a million different variants of asteroid that should be movie ready, or at least good enough to be in a series. Let's just expand this open. If you had a Netflix show that you wanted to make an asteroid for, this should meet the sniff test. Obviously, the style and design that you're going for, maybe you'd use a different color palette or different texture image. I just used a free image I found online, but yeah, that's pretty much it. And yeah, I'll render this image out, but please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. And here's the final result of this tutorial. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if anyone actually made it this far. Comment down below. Cheers, man. Bye.